If you want to keep up to date with all things Kingdom Hearts and this channel, then make sure to subscribe with notifications on. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Prodigy and welcome to another Kingdom Hearts video on the channel. So I woke up this morning to a pretty decent amount of Kingdom Hearts news. We got a huge Game Informer interview that I already recorded a video about that might be tomorrow's video or today's video, depending on which one I decide to edit first. And another article about the future of Kingdom Hearts on Switch and Nomura's comments on it. So we're going to be covering that today. It's a very interesting topic because while Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out, Nomura was pretty much pestered about constantly bringing Kingdom Hearts 3 to Switch. Is it possible? Is it not possible? Is it possible after the release of Kingdom Hearts 3? Will 1.5, 2.5, 2.8 come to the Nintendo Switch? We only just recently, like earlier this year, late last year, got the Kingdom Hearts games on Xbox after much begging from fans. They only had Kingdom Hearts 3 for a while, which was really weird, but now they have the entire series on Xbox, which is really good. Kingdom Hearts being more accessible and more places on more consoles is always a good thing because that means more people can play Kingdom Hearts. This wonderful series, the ID my favorite among favorites. But I'm going to go ahead and read this article from Nintendo Enthusiast and then give you my thoughts. So Nintendo Enthusiast recently spoke with the leads on Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory at Square Enix, including producer Ichiro Hazama, co-director Masanobu Suzu, and franchise director and character designer Tetsuya Nomura. Melody of Memory is the first game in the franchise to arrive on Nintendo Switch, so naturally we had to inquire about whether more Kingdom Hearts Switch games were on their way, be it ports of existing games or new titles. The answer is simultaneously disappointing and exciting. Through a translator, Tetsuya Nomura confirmed there are currently no specific plans for Kingdom Hearts on Switch. Square Enix did consider ports of existing games for Switch in the past, but found that it was technologically difficult. However, Nomura added that he believes Nintendo Switch is a very appealing piece of hardware, and he had always wanted to do something on this console. Additionally, while he cannot speak for games at Square Enix that he isn't associated with, Nomura did express that it is possible another game of his could come to Switch. The tone and phrasing of the translation made it sound like it is quite possible. In fact, but it's safest never to overread into a situation. The bottom line is that the likelihood of more Kingdom Hearts games on Switch is uncertain, but the likelihood of more Tetsuya Nomura games on Switch might be better than we had thought. That's about the answer I'd kind of expect from Nomura. Realistically, if they were going to put the Kingdom Hearts games on Switch, they probably would have done it already, but that doesn't necessarily mean they won't do it in the future still, and I don't take this article as confirmation of that, despite the technological difficulties they encountered, because the fact that they had plans to even port them over shows me that there was a will to do so. And I feel like if there's a will, there's definitely a way, and Nomura has proven to me throughout my many years covering his interviews and just analyzing this man's character that whenever he plans something, quote, he in some way, shape, or form finds a way to get it done. It just seems like it was too difficult at that moment to pull off, but it doesn't seem to me that it won't happen in general, because let's say a Switch Pro comes out or a future version of the Switch, which is very likely heavily rumored to happen early next year, then maybe those technological difficulties, won't be a factor anymore. But even despite that, I mean, these games are PS2 games. One of them being a PSP game, got a 3DS game, and then you have 0.2, which I'd imagine probably is the biggest factor. 2.8 is probably the biggest factor, the biggest hardship in porting these games over, because like if you can't get 2.8 on the console, then what's the big point in having 1.5 plus 2.5? Yeah, it'll sell, but I mean, Nintendo fans will have to still get a PlayStation to get 2.8, and at that point, you might as well just get 1.5 and 2.5 when you buy your PlayStation, But I definitely think those games could run on the console, given like some work they have to put in, but it doesn't seem like it's worth the time at the moment as they're focusing on phase 2 for the franchise. Melody of Memory seems to be a very unique situation. It's a game that, as I read in the Game Informer interview that will probably come out later, that was built from the ground up essentially and was widely based on Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, and it's a game that like kind of just fits the Switch a lot more as well, and probably serves as a sort of test. So if Melody of Memories definitely sells super well on Switch, then I'm very confident that we could see a lot more Nintendo involvement with Kingdom Hearts in the future. Let's say it sells super well on the Switch, like close to the PS4 version potentially, even though I doubt it. Just hypothetically speaking, they see that and we then get 1.5, 2.5, 2.8 on a Switch. They put in the work, they put in the hard effort to make that happen. We get Sora and Smash, which is the big thing everyone wants. It's like if these companies see value in putting these games on the Switch, then they'll definitely do it. Right now, I definitely get the impression that it just wasn't worth the time at the moment, because they probably tried doing this after Kingdom Hearts 3 or slightly before it and just decide, okay, this is too much. We're just going to focus on Kingdom Hearts 3 or focus on Melody of Memory or Remind. I mean, there was a time back in the day when Kingdom Hearts, like Birth by Sleep Volume 2 as it was dubbed, was never going to be like in the works. Nomura always said he wanted to do it, but we never saw any implications that like it was going to happen. It was put to the side for Kingdom Hearts 3 at the time. We knew that Dream Drop was able to be ported over to the PS4, but they hadn't had plans for it at the time, and then look, 2.8 comes out. They didn't have plans for Melody of Memory at one point, a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game. This isn't the first time a rhythm game's ever been brought up for Kingdom Hearts. They didn't have plans for it at the time, but now they do. I've realized about Nomura that whenever he has a thought, whether it's like a joke or something he genuinely has an idea for in his head, like Melody of Memory for example, he first joked about a title like that with Yoko Shimomura in an interview a while back, and now we have this game. So I definitely do think Kingdom Hearts on the Switch will probably come in the future, or the Kingdom Hearts titles, the current Kingdom Hearts titles will be ported over to a Nintendo console in the future. Maybe it's not the Switch, maybe it's their next piece of hardware, the Switch Pro, or whatever, Switch XL, whatever they decide to call it. But I know other fans of another certain title might be excited about that last comment, about how Nomura did express that it is possible another game of his could come to the Switch. That could be a hint towards the Worlds With You 2 potentially happening, which could be very interesting because we know the Worlds With You has been receiving a lot of promotion lately, and if the anime does really well, there's probably going to be interest for a game in the future. So yeah, I'll let Worlds With You fans speculate about that one though. But you know, the article does say don't overread into a situation. Well, we're KH fans, I'm sorry about that. But I do genuinely think Kingdom Hearts will probably come to Switch despite this. I just don't think now is probably the time they're wanting to do it. I don't know when even, because it seems like right now for Kingdom Hearts, after Melody of Memories, they have 2 other games that they plan on working on, and I can imagine that those 2 other games are going to be additional new titles that take place after Melody of Memory, after Remind, or maybe we get more prequels, like basically more things that expand or improve upon the story. I think maybe after this phase 2, or after we get the other 2 games in phase 2, maybe then they'll start focusing on a Kingdom Hearts Switch port, or maybe like we'll get someone to work on a Kingdom Hearts Switch port. Maybe they outsource it to a different company or something, because developers do that pretty often, but I doubt they do that because putting Kingdom Hearts in the hands of someone else can be a little scary. But I do have faith. I've seen a lot of Nintendo fans up in arms about this, really upset. They're like, oh, this is just a PS2 game, how is this not possible? We have games like Hellblade on the Switch or The Witcher. Kingdom Hearts cannot be, you know, that intensing or that difficult to port over. Well, about that, like, you gotta think about how many Kingdom Hearts games they're putting on the Switch and how they would likely want all of those games to be on one, like, cartridge. Maybe potentially they'll have 2.8 separated, but they likely want Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 at least to be together, and then have 2.8 release along with it at the same time. It's still pretty difficult because, like, that's what, 6 different games, 3 movies, and 9 different entries in the series that are like all on those like collections. So yeah, I can imagine it's a decent amount of work, but I definitely think it's possible. I do think that they probably just didn't like see it optimal to work on at this moment. So I just have confidence. But anyways though, that's gonna be about it for today's video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, share the video with a friend or a family member, and last but not least, if you're not already and want to become a part of the union, all you have to do is hit that red little subscribe button down below. My name is Prodigy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.